What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Seven Figures Club podcast. Today, guys, we have a couple guests that I know really well. And if you've seen anything over the past year, you've noticed that the stock of Amazon has kind of gone straight up. You've noticed with all the changes and craziness, the pandemic, etc., that online businesses, that e-commerce has dominated. Today, we've got Stephen and Chelsea Diaz, who are the owners of Rainmakers Academy. And they've done amazing things in e-commerce. And then they decided, well, yeah, it's been great to have this awesome business ourselves, but what if we could teach others how to do that as well? And they have literally helped over 3,000 stay-at-home parents to build online passive income businesses in the past year across multiple industries across the globe. Collectively, they've helped stay-at-home moms in the Rainmaker Group generate millions of dollars in sales through Amazon businesses since the launch of Rainmakers Academy. And most importantly, they love having the financial freedom to stay at home, run their business in their pajamas, and raise their family with a heart of generosity. We love the opportunity to help others is on their bio. And guys, we're excited to have Stephen and Chelsea. Welcome to the podcast.
There are over 32 million businesses in the U.S., and over 90% of them will never break seven figures in annual sales. So how do we as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs break into that seven figures club? This podcast will relentlessly share the secrets, strategies, and tactics I've used to create 3 multi-seven figures businesses and bring in even more successful entrepreneurs than me to share their inspirational stories and tactics to success. You can create your dream business and life right now. So buckle up and let's go.
Thank you so much, Leo, for having us. We're so excited to be here and just share a little bit about our journey and hope that your listeners kind of grab those nuggets that we have to share and just run with it.
Amen. Well said, Chelsea. Well, let's talk about this journey that you guys have had. Now, was your Amazon and your e-commerce business, was that the first business that you guys had started? And did you start it together as a couple? Or what was your guys' history, before getting into this?
Yeah, I love that. I can take it away a little bit here, but Stephen and I, Amazon and our e-commerce business was not the first entrepreneur venture we did together. During my last year of college, Stephen had just graduated. We actually started a wedding business together. We have been in the wedding industry as photographers and videographers for the last 9 years. Stephen studied that in school. And so for us, right after we were about to graduate, and we had just been encouraged by friends, you guys should start this business. And so really jumped into it just kind of head first. And I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. Stephen kind of had that drive and everything. But it was really through our wedding business that thankfully had always been really successful. We just learned that looking forward and wanting to start a family and travel and have a little bit more flexibility, we just began to look into alternative sources of income for us and looking forward. And that's kind of how Stephen stumbled upon Amazon. And then shortly after Rainmakers Academy was birthed.
Wow, amazing. So wasn't your first business was a wedding business, kind of doing the videography and all of the important stuff there. Probably at times, I know probably a high stress business because a lot of people get stressed out on their wedding days sometimes, but a very hands-on service-based business. What's the difference been like going from kind of that hands-on service where you've got to, be doing everything to a more of a product-based business? And what are some of the benefits of kind of moving that direction, would you say?
Yeah, so this is definitely a dream of ours because, with weddings, it's not super scalable, right? Like it's one-to-one, you're serving, have a high level experience for these one-on-one clients, but you can only shoot one wedding a day. We did have a year where we did, I think it was 43 weddings. So we had double headers. We were doing Saturday, Sundays. I think we had like 8 weddings in May. And that was probably our year where we came close to burnout on just part of that business because we were doing a lot of it ourselves at that point. We were doing all the editing. And so that's when we went down this whole journey of outsourcing. But then beyond that, like how could we actually kind of create income for our family without trading as many dollars for hours, so to say? I think every job requires some sort of trading dollars for hours. But is this passive income thing real? Like, we've heard people talking about it. So we really, after that, went down a journey of experimentation, honestly. Like, I'm kind of the mad scientist in the relationship. Like, I'm always tweaking and trying and tinkering with things online. So we got into Airbnb, renting out rooms on Airbnb. We got into investing. We got into, we actually bought a photo booth. That was kind of the biggest financial risk we had taken at a time in our early marriage and business. And so we saw like a little bit of results from those ventures. But it really wasn't until we got into e-commerce that everything shifted, because we started seeing income come in without the work aspect of things. That was life-changing. It was like the first, I think, winter we were doing Amazon. Wedding business is very seasonal, right? Summers are high, winters are low. So we had our first winter where we had launched products on Amazon, and just being able to check our phone and be like, wow, we made X amount this day. And like, we didn't do anything. Like, we did all this work to set it up. But seeing that roll in, that's when we really became Amazon evangelists. Like, we were like, everyone needs to do this thing. I started telling all my friends. I actually got my mom into Amazon and trained her how to launch a product. And so it really just kind of was natural, just out of our excitement of how the income was changing our lives and how we didn't have to take on as many jobs. We could take on less weddings that next year. It was really out of that we started teaching and training more people how to do this.
Yeah, and I would say from the beginning, even starting our wedding business, business is always like a little bit of a leap of faith, even if you've done it time and time again. And so for me, from the very beginning, it felt like a really big risk to join Steven in our business. And I was like, it's great that we have like this X amount of weddings booked for this summer, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll need to go back to school. Maybe I'll need to do all these things. And so for me, that light bulb moment coming from a little bit more skepticism, I would say now I've grown in that area a lot, and I can say like, no, this is a good opportunity. Let's go for it. But for me, we would be at weddings. So already being paid to be at a wedding, and we'd be eating our vendor meal off in the corner. And we would be checking our phone, our Amazon app, and seeing like $100 a day coming in, $500 a day, $1,000 a day. And for me, I could literally feel the weight off on my shoulders just like come off, as far as like, we have unlocked something that so many people need to know about and experience, because we loved what we were doing. It was great income, but like Steven said, that, really high summers and low winters. And I think there's a lot of people in that position that are service-based, or maybe like a stay-at-home mom or something like that wants to contribute and do things. And so, yeah, it really was this light bulb moment of, wow, this actually works.
So when you start a business, there are always risks. You guys are talking about weighing those risks, and we have a lot of people out there trying to decide, listening to this podcast, well, what's the right business for me, and what should I be looking at, and how do I weigh these risks? And as you look at the risks maybe associated with your first business in videography with weddings versus the risks that come with starting an e-commerce business, like, how would you assess those, and what is it maybe about e-commerce that makes it lower risk in some ways than some other businesses?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. And we have definitely built risk through, leaning into faith over the years, right? Like I talked about that photo booth, that was it was a $10,000 investment. So at the time in our wedding business, we were like, oh man, this is intense. But
Steven convinced me like the whole year. He just kept coming back to the photo booth. And I think the owner was doing some kind of like sale or something. So he's like, we're going to get it at this price. But it was literally after a year of him talking to me about that, I was like, okay, we can pull the trigger. This is like, at the time it was like 1.5 weddings or something like that would pay it off. So like these weddings go towards that.
This is doable. We can.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had to make a spreadsheet. I'm like, if we book, let's say we book half our weddings, like add the photo booth on, and I had to like really like run the numbers and like build that faith, and every business takes this step of faith where you're putting something out there in the world. And sometimes e-commerce can feel a little bit scarier because typically you're buying inventory. You're like, you have to invest in inventory. But we really learned this over the years, and it really is like small steps in the right direction. So the photo booth was one of those things where it was a stretch, and then we saw the return on that investment. We made money off it for a few years, and then we actually ended up selling the business for around the price we bought the photo booth for. So we made profit and sold the business, and we just worked our way up in the risk levels like over the years. And it was the same thing with Amazon. Like we started, my first product was a very simple wooden toy. It cost about $1 per unit, and I bought 500 units. So it was only like about a $500 investment, a little bit on shipping, and it was maybe a stroke of luck, maybe maybe it was a miracle, but it was kind of in that fidget spinner season. I don't know if you remember the fidget spinners.
Oh yeah, I've got 5 kids. They all needed one.
Yes.
Right. So that was a crazy like boom on Amazon. But because those fidget spinners took off, all these other kind of like fidget toy things were popping on Amazon. And so we listed this little wooden toy on Amazon just like out of a whim. I was like, I got to figure this thing out and try this out. And all of a sudden this toy started selling $600 a day in this little wooden toy that I bought for $1, and we were selling for $15 on Amazon. And that's when I really was like, there is something here. And at the time I wasn't really doing Amazon probably the correct way, like is like what we would teach now, because we teach don't go after trends. Like if you look at the fidget spinner trend, it goes way up and then just totally crashes, and so we really came in at a miraculous time to catch that wave. But then we learned from future products after that, okay, how do we actually launch long-term products that are educated risks based on data that are going to sell for years to come?
And what a return! Spending $1 on a unit and then being able to turn around and sell it for 15, like that's just amazing. And those are the opportunities that are online in e-commerce and different products out there. But you guys talked a little bit about your background. It sounds like you both were in school for a time and spent a lot of time in studying. What are your thoughts? What in your background or schooling maybe, led you guys into entrepreneurship, or what was it as you looked at, different opportunities of working for other people versus starting your own business? What was it that gave you the courage to do that? Or was it maybe the way you were raised, or how would you attribute that?
Yeah, our stories are very different in that regard. So I feel like, Stephen, you should go first and kind of share yours. I think Stephen, from the beginning, like you can look back on his childhood and he'll probably touch on that, was wired for entrepreneurship and being his own boss. And for me, it took time, and I can like dive into that as well. But I love hearing Stephen, your parts
I
of
was
that growing
always
up.
a little entrepreneur as a kid. I was always wired that way. Even what we preach today of outsourcing, buying back your time, I was doing that from an early age. I would pay my sister to like do my chores and like I would hustle, mow lawns and save up and, buy the things like whatever I wanted that month or whatever. So I was always like a young hustler in that aspect. But it's really cool how I feel like there's no waste in your past. And so like, even if you have a little spark of entrepreneurship in you, it's often a lot of times your past that will be used to kind of like converge to build something in your future. And that's really what happened for me in college. There was actually just one random day, we were in the cafeteria at this college. I was there with a friend, and someone started walking through the cafeteria saying, "Hey, did you hear they're giving away iPads in the next room?" It was like early day iPads. And so we were like, oh, sweet. We love free stuff. So of course, and I think there was free food too. So even though we were in the cafeteria, we were like, okay, free food, iPads, let's go. So me and my friend Jeff went over to that room. And at the time, it was very early days of e-commerce. This was like before Shopify, before drag and drop website builders. There was this guy there. I kind of just call him like an eccentric millionaire who had developed his own e-commerce software, and he really just wanted like case studies. He wanted people to use it. And so he's like, here's the deal. I'm putting on this contest for anyone who wants to do this thing. All you got to do is build an e-commerce website. And he had to like explain what e-commerce was to us at the time. Like it means like selling products online, blah, blah, blah. Build it on my platform, this software, I guess you could call it. And the winner will win $7,500. Second place will win $5,000. And it went down from there. And so at the time, I went to a pretty small private college. So there was like probably 100 people in this room. Me and my friend looked at each other. We're like, we could win this contest. No one's going to do this, So we really just put our heads down and learned this software. It was like coding and like painful.
And I thought Steven was crazy. I was like, you're spending all your time. You're not getting paid. You're not promised anything. Like, what are you doing? I just couldn't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I was neglecting all my classes, my homework for at least 1 to 2 months building this website. And we actually created a completely fake product, like just to because they didn't say the product had to be real. It was just like use our website to show an example of how it could work. So we made up this whole fake product and built this website, learned a ton about internet marketing, SEO, how to drive traffic. And it's crazy. I just really lit up during that season, seeing the potential of this thing. And it's wild to look back on that and see those same skills that we developed during that kind of 1 to 2 months of focus helped our wedding business, because it helped our wedding business rank on Google because of the SEO and the marketing stuff we use. And then now it helps us on Amazon to rank products on the first page. But the best part about that story was, we worked for super hard. Everyone thought we were crazy. But we ended up getting second place in this contest. I think the first place went to a real product. Like they're actually selling something for real. But we got second place. We won $5,000. And because of that, my business partner in this, he was able to stay in college. He was completely broke. He couldn't make the next payment. He was actually able to stay there at the college. And I think it was the next semester, the next year, he met his wife, which was so cool. And then right after the contest, or the award ceremony, this lady approached us and she gave us a job. She hired us on the spot to run her e-commerce business. And that led to just learning more about e-commerce, and actually she was a jeweler, led to me getting a ring for Chelsea for my proposal. So,
and looking back on it now, even though I thought Steven was crazy and I didn't understand, that was, I think, one of the first faith builders for me to see, wow, this does actually work, running a business online. And I did see the skills that Steven had learned for our wedding business, and especially my ring. That's, it's this led to that, and I really like my ring, so thank you, Yeah. We love working together. We've learned, I think in the beginning of marriage and when we were running our business, we used to focus so much on our differences. Steven is so different from me and I'm so different than him. And we've really learned to be we have different strengths. And when I pull on Steven's strength, I'm a better business owner. When he pulls on my strength, he's a better business owner. And we've really learned that we need each other, and that when we do things together, things grow better and faster. And a great example of that is Rainmakers was just Steven's side hobby that he did, and he was coaching people and there was success, but it was more of just he'd do it out after hours. And
yeah, we were running the wedding business, and I'd be goofing off at night doing the Amazon thing by myself.
And I didn't supporting him, but from a side. And then it wasn't until I really stepped in and was a part of Rainmakers and was a part of some of the teaching and mindset and just being the encourager is when I feel Rainmakers took off. And so we've just learned that when we do things, we're better as a team together. And we've been in business together, whether it's our Amazon business or our wedding business. We've been doing it. We've been married. March will be 8 years, and we started our first business 9 years. So we've just learned over time, and we've built trust as far as what we need to do and what we don't need to do. And sometimes there is a little, healthy tension as far as I'm feeling this way and he's seeing this thing, but we've able to come back and just help one another and spur each other on in our business. And I'm trying to think of specific keys that have been helpful as far as specific things in place to build trust. If there are any specific ones.
It's kind of one of those things too. It's those small wins. I think this is definitely a conversation that, if you are in business and married, even if you're not working together, it's definitely a conversation to have, because it's all about building trust, but also believing for the best in the other person. Because sometimes there may have been, let's say you've tried an entrepreneurial venture that has, on paper, so to say, failed, right? And I think that's the story of a lot of people. We work with a lot of stay-at-home moms. Let's give that example. And maybe they tried some network marketing company in the past that kind of flopped. But now they're coming to their spouse, their husband, and saying, oh my gosh, I found these Rainmaker family people. I want to launch this Amazon business. They're all excited. But then the husband's like, well, but you remember this past thing, right? That failed. Like, isn't this just another one of those things? And so it's really important, I think, in a conversation, I guess, for the entrepreneur who has a spouse that's not an entrepreneur, it's really important to ask for support instead of permission. Now, I know that's a little crazy to say, but when your spouse, they love you, right? They love you and they want the best for you and they want to protect you. And so oftentimes if there's something that you want to do with a business, or like, hey, I want to work with 7 figures and like fund this business, I got this dream, but then you come to your spouse who maybe isn't an entrepreneur with uncertainty, what they're going to do is reflect that uncertainty back to you because they're trying to protect you. If you come with uncertainty and like, I'm not sure, maybe take a look at this, it's really not fair to that person who's not an entrepreneur for you to ask them for entrepreneurial advice. So what we say instead is, hey, go to them with certainty, go to them with confidence and say, instead of asking for permission, like, I have researched this, here's the numbers, this is my plan. Lay it out for them and say, like, I need your support on this. And so we have really done that in our relationship, but it also has come, like I said, from small wins, small trust steps of faith. And now it's to the point like, where I'll see a high level mastermind that's a big investment. And I call Chelsea, confirm it. And then she's like, I believe in you. Let's go for it. Or like even the house we're in, that was kind of Chelsea's thing. She saw the house. She's like, that's our dream house. And it was like the same day we made an offer. So we've gotten up to this place where, we have this almost supernatural faith in each other to say, like, I trust you, I trust the decisions you make, and I trust that it's going to be good. And even if it isn't, like, we're going to work through it together and continue to just encourage each other that it's okay to take risks, it's okay to take steps of faith as long as we're holding hands throughout the process.
Okay, awesome stuff here. And so you'd had this success, and then you're running Rainmakers on the side, or you're running your Amazon on the business on the side. And then at what point do you kind of cut the cord from the previous business, your wedding videography business, and go, completely into Amazon? How was that decision made? And when did you know that you were ready to do that?
Yeah. It's actually I kind of call this the spaghetti years. A lot of people throw spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. It's kind of that phrase, right? Which I guess is something they would actually do to see if the spaghetti was done. They would throw spaghetti against the wall, and when it's done, it sticks against the wall. So we were kind of in these spaghetti years, like I talked about, this experimentation, which I think was really good because we did learn a lot of skills. We were trying Airbnb, we were trying all these different passive income type things. Started doing Amazon, started training on Amazon, but still we're kind of, I would say, double-minded, like doing a lot of different stuff. I ended up reading this book. It's called Poverty, Riches, and Wealth. And in the book, he gives this example of a vine, right? A vine, when it's overextended, it will just grow sticks. It doesn't grow fruit. Like, it'll just keep growing. Like, it'll grow fruit, but then if it overextends, it'll just grow sticks. And so he was talking about how you sometimes need to trim back to the fruit so that you can see like more fruit, right? And so that's why they prune vines and they trim the vines so that they can grow more fruit. And so when we were reading that, it really hit us that we were kind of just growing sticks in that season. We were overextending ourselves, we're giving up more of our time and not actually bringing in more income for our family. So we actually went through what we call a trimming season, where we really just cut out a lot of stuff. We didn't cut out the wedding business. We're still doing the wedding business, but really Chelsea took that completely over. And then we basically sold the photo booth. I was selling these wooden toys, this separate brand. We kind of cut that out. So we cut out like a ton of different stuff so that I could just fully focus on Rainmakers. And it was also in that season, I actually had a dream, and I feel like I get a lot of insights through dreams just randomly. And so I had this dream about a pot of boiling noodles. This was such a random dream, but it was like the spaghetti season, right? Like, I had this pot of boiling noodles in this dream, and I feel like I heard a voice that said, if you just boil one noodle, it'll go a lot faster. Like, I was trying to throw all the noodles in the water and just waiting around for something to boil. But I had these big dreams. I had this big vision of like, we want to help families step into this financial freedom, and we want to impact thousands of people with this, And so that was really even more so that wake up call to go, just focus. I heard someone say, focus, follow one course until successful. And so many entrepreneurs have this kind of squirrel syndrome, shiny object syndrome, where they're oh, that looks cool. And then they do it for a few months and then, oh, that looks cool. And because they're juggling so many balls, they just don't really see the impact that they're dreaming about. So I just hyper focused, and Chelsea like totally took over the wedding business so I could do that. And then we integrated her into Rainmakers too, because our audience really is stay-at-home moms, and she was such an integral part of that branding, right? And we were stepping into having a family ourselves. We just had our son, and it was just like this convergence of focus, and then also kind of dialing in who this product was for, who this service was for specifically, that really gave it the acceleration to really reach a high number of people.
And that's what's so brilliant about what you guys have done. And this is a big seven-figure secret for everybody listening to this podcast right now. Before you even get started, or as you do, like the first question you have to ask is, who is your dream client? Who is it you want to serve? And how did that process work out? Because you guys have a very specific focus of who you serve, and you know that, and you do an amazing job serving them. How did you come to that conclusion that that was who you wanted to serve? And then what was the process like of making sure that your marketing and your product, created solutions for the problems that your perfect client has?
Yeah, so in the beginning with Rainmakers, Stephen was just kind of like marketing it to who wants to make passive income, and of course everybody wants to make passive income. And we had a lot of connections with wedding videographers. So we had thought like maybe it's the wedding industry, and we still do have a lot of that. But we just started looking. We had Rainmakers, I don't know, going for like a year and a half or something like that. And we just really looked at who are our like success stories, who are the ones that are really taking what we're teaching and applying it and having these breakthroughs. And we were just really seeing that a lot of it was stay-at-home moms or young families that wanted to be staying at home with their kids. And it definitely felt a little funny getting there, because at the time, like, although we wanted to, like, I would say I'm an entrepreneur, but I wanted to be like home with Kaizen, I guess. And so it felt funny that like we didn't even have kids at the time. Like we knew, in the next couple of years, like we'll start a family. But so it felt weird to be like going after that initially. But we really had a conversation with our mentor, Pedro, and he really helped us just like, again, like narrow it down, like who are you really serving, and who have you seen success? And it was that like stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, like you said, Leo, this is like, and you've seen it probably time and time again working in the businesses you work with. And I do coaching in a bunch of masterminds, and like this is the number one thing I feel like we help people have breakthrough with is like that, who are you called to serve? Like I love Russell Brunson, he sent out a thing recently that was like, don't ask kids like what they want to be when they grow up. Ask them, who do you want to serve? And it's such a powerful concept, because like a lot of people will say, oh, this is for everyone, or this is for, women. And it's just so broad, and when your product is for everyone, it's for no one. And when you can hyper focus it down, like just think about this, you guys, if you take what you're doing and you make it so specific for a very specific type of person, you become the best in the world for that person. Like if you can, Pedro, we mentioned it before, Pedro Adeo is one of our business mentors. And he says, if you can carve a niche so tight, you're the only one that fits in it. Not only does it just like, you just rise up as the number one person, trainer, or whatever service for that specific person, but also it opens up connections, because you're no longer competing with other people. There's a lot of people in the Amazon space, but there's not a lot of people serving this stay-at-home mom market. So when we kind of looked at the results, look at who was having success with our program, looked at where we were seeing just favorable results, we leaned into that and we rebranded. We framed all the language through, okay, how can we help a stay-at-home mom launch a business during nap time? That's like the one focus. And it was the same content. It was just reframed with different language specifically for that who. And that's really what took it to the next level and allowed us to reach more people.
Some of the challenges that a lot of people have before they decide on the business to start is kind of deciding who to work with and having the courage to make that investment in yourself. And you've talked about, mentoring yourself. And I know when you're talking about mentoring and working with guys like Pedro and Russell and you and I have been there, like you have to be willing to invest a decent amount of money to kind of get that training, that mentorship. And so how important do you believe going out and getting that mentoring through different online products and services is if you really want to succeed?
Oh man, so important. And that, I mean, we learned that in our wedding business. We went to a conference, like it was probably 3 years into our wedding business. We went to our first wedding conference, like wedding photographer conference. And literally we sat in the audience like, why didn't we do this sooner? Like these people on stage they have 10 years of experience and we're learning it in 10 minutes. Like there was literally tips shared from stage that made us so much more money and saved us so much more time. And like we literally saw the impact of investing in ourselves with this probably $300 conference, but ever since that moment, we were like, wow, like, I don't know why, like we just didn't we were just like kind of the freebie people. Like, let's see what we can get for free off blogs and YouTube. But there's something about when you pay for information, not only do you get like compressed time, you get like all the good stuff in a short amount of time. But also, I do believe there is like, I've heard it said like transformation in the transaction. There's something about putting your money where your mouth is, because like people don't really like do what they don't really believe what they believe. They believe what they do, right? And so, putting like investing in yourself actually is like saying like I actually believe that I am a good investment and that I can like put money into myself and see a return on that investment. And there's some sort of breakthrough in that really helped us. And that is honestly how we got into Amazon. Like we paid $5,000 for an Amazon course, which again, at the time was a very scary investment. And that's really what gave us that like kickstart in the right direction to say like, okay, let's compress this. We were able to build an Amazon business in 1 year just based on what we learned in that course. And then we were able to develop our own frameworks and flavor of how we did things because, everyone has their unique voice and their unique spin on things. So, investing in yourself is really one of the best places you can invest. And the majority of people just don't do it. Like, I think the stats on people who read self-help books and things like that, it's like crazy low, you guys. So if you're one of those people who even just reads a business book or even just listening to this podcast, like you're investing time in yourself, like you are good soil worth investing in.
Amen. You know what's interesting? There's a lot of people that are really good at doing something, but then they go out and they try to teach other people how to do it, and they really struggle. You guys were really great entrepreneurs at building an e-commerce and an Amazon business. And as great as you are and were at that, I think you might even be better at teaching other people how to do it. So how did you make that transition to running a business and e-commerce and now doing that and teaching thousands of people how to, launch their own e-commerce business? What's that process been like? And how, what is the best way to teach people and train people? If you're listening out there and you're really good at doing a certain thing and you're like, oh, if I could just teach other people how to do this, how do you do that? How do you become a great teacher and a great trainer and create a community? Because you guys have built one of the best communities, in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think right now, there's so much opportunity to teach people and to see like if what is in your heart and what you have learned resonates with people, because there's definitely a big deal between thinking you have this awesome thing mapped out and then actually delivering it. And sometimes that takes a little bit of practice. So, I would say right now, like Facebook and Instagram are such great platforms. You can literally go live and just say, hey, I've been doing this for the last like couple of months and I want to start this like, even free group in the beginning to get your message out there and just see like what sticks. I think that's what Steven did in the very beginning when he was learning about Amazon and growing our own business. He just started telling people, and then through that, like got people into a Facebook group, and then from there was teaching and training, and then after that was like, let me build like this course so we can go after, and its course evolved into a lot of different things now, but that was the start. And I think there's no better time right now. There's so many opportunities with Instagram and Facebook and lots of other social media platforms to get your message out there and just see like, does this resonate? Are there people who are interested in what I feel like is in my heart to share?
Yeah, and that was super key for me, that because Chelsea actually called it out in me for many years. She's like, you should you should make a course on videography and wedding stuff. And I just wasn't feeling the wedding thing. Like I didn't think that was my realm to really lean into as far as education goes. And I always was like, well, I'll do it later. I'll just make money doing it. And then I'll teach when I'm like older, you know? But with this Amazon thing, there was a new fire on it. I think there was something about the results that it was getting us that really we're like, oh man, this would be so cool to see our friends have this result and my mom to have this result. And like, just like that hunger to like help people with the result really drove me, but also removing the, like, I think there's a big thing like the imposter syndrome, right? Where it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm not qualified to do this thing. But really, like, you don't have to be an expert to start. I'll say that. Like, you don't have to be an expert to start. You just have to be a few chapters ahead. And I just would tell people that, like, I'm learning this. So if you want to just get behind me while I'm learning this, like, I'm just going to document it. And so I would honestly do, if you're doing anything new, just document the journey and give it away for free at the beginning. You'll get people following it. And like Chelsea said, I started a beta group, Facebook group. It was free to join. I was just telling people about it. I was just documenting what I learned. And because it was free, not that many people paid attention, unfortunately, because remember, there's like, you know, the transformation and the transaction, but there was one person who paid attention, and she's still with us to this day. She's one of our head coaches in our community, and she's replaced her full-time nurse's income with Amazon. And like, it's totally changed her entire, probably future generations of her family. And that got me fired up. But I just did it for free, got case studies, got results for people. And then once you start seeing the results of like, wow, I can create wealth with my words for someone else, that gave me more confidence to go, you know what, I'm going to package this. I'm going to sell it as a course. I'm going to create a service around it, a community around it. And, but yeah, really doing that beta group relieved a lot of the pressure of being the expert. And then now, like, I'm still the experimenter. Like, I definitely am an expert in Amazon now because we've been doing it years and years. You know, I'm just like soaking in it every single day. But I'm also still experimenting with things and bringing the community on the journey. Like, I'm experimenting with this thing, like, check out this thing. And you know, it's just fun to like not have to be like the guru at the top of the mountain that you can't surpass my knowledge or greatness. You know, like, I want to be the person who's like, hey, I'll show you how to get up here, and then I'm going to push you and make you go higher, you know? So that's really our heart with what we do, is to see people succeed and go even further than we have.
Yeah, and I would just say too, like Stephen touched upon this a little bit, but since we've been in this space of educating and teaching, we've met a lot of people along the way in different masterminds who have, you know, a message just in their heart, or just a skill that they've learned and they want to teach others. And I've seen so many people just get stuck in I don't have it all figured out. I don't know what I would teach. I don't know how many lessons I would do. And what if people want this versus that? And they just get stuck in like the preparing and thinking like that they have to have it all together. And so that's what I've, like I said, loved about like Facebook groups and Instagram, is you can test and see what works and then figure out like those people that have been following you and are interested in that breakthrough that you want to give away. Like, then you can figure out exactly what they want and hone in. But yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect from the beginning. Like, I think starting it and like taking those baby steps. Like, you don't have to have the full like plan and blueprint right in front of you right when you start. And some people do, and that's great, but a lot of people don't. And you go and just go with it. Even for us in Rainmakers, like, we listen to our community, and when they have pain points as far as like, oh, it'd be really awesome if you had this person that would come in, or even like 7 figures. I think that's how like we found you guys, is we saw this pain point of people wanting to do it but needing capital and all those kinds of things. So you just listen to your audience and listen what they need, and then you can build from there too.
Absolutely. So for everybody listening out there who wants to get into e-commerce, wants to look into an Amazon business, I know you guys have these amazing challenges that you do. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how these challenges work, when the next one is, and how the best way is that they can connect with Rainmakers Academy and see if this is the right fit for what they need to do. And certainly everyone's looking for opportunities, work from home now more than ever.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a 7-day like intensive kind of boot camp training. We call it a challenge because
it's like going to summer camp.
Yeah. Chelsea and I worked at a summer camp growing up, so we love to create this online summer camp experience where people really get to know each other, but they also walk away with life transformation, you know? And so Amazon is one of those things that can feel like a big step of faith, a big risk. And so what we do is we just reduce the risk by offering a really low cost challenge where you get 7 days of training with us. We even have Seven Figures come in and do some training on how to like use money to your advantage. And it really goes in depth on like the entire process of setting up an Amazon business and how we actually use data to make educated decisions about what products even to sell. So like a lot of people come to this challenge with absolutely no like idea of what they're going to sell on Amazon. That's actually the best place to start. We'll show you exactly how to do it, how to find software to like find products to sell, and even we'll introduce you to like our personal sourcing agent and connections so you can launch this business. So it's 7 days, very low cost, and the goal of it really is to figure out, is this a good fit for me or not? Because like you could go spend thousands of dollars on you know, some course or training or whatever, only to realize, wow, this isn't for me. So really the challenge is kind of just that low barrier entry. If you make it through the challenge, you get through all 7 days, it is a good fit for you. Like you have the time, you have the mindset, you have the money, you got the roadmap, and you can do this thing. But if you get to day 3 and you're like, this isn't for me, then at least you only spent a few bucks to get in, and you can move on to a better opportunity for you. So that's the Rainmaker Challenge. The best place if you guys want to join that is therainmakerchallenge.com.
All right, guys, the Rainmaker Challenge, RAINMAKER challenge.com. And that's the place where you want to go, the Rainmaker Challenge. And so it's 7 days, and I want to say it's like this crazy affordable rate. Like usually a 7-day thing like that could be thousands and thousands of dollars, and you guys make it unbelievably affordable for that 7 day, and you're covering almost every aspect of the business to make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of prizes. So
there's even some giveaways. Okay.
Chelsea is the prize gal. So every day she's like scheming up, what can we give away? And we actually pre-purchased all the prizes for this year's challenge. They're in our closet right over there. And so they're tempting. I want to open up some of these things and use them myself. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's you know, more than just the information. We really want to connect people. And so it's really a connecting place for stay-at-home moms or just young families who just have a dream to create financial freedom. This is the group basically to be in, where you get to be around other people. I know me and Chelsea are always like, we got to get around more crazy people like us, because not everyone's wired the way us entrepreneurs are wired. Not everyone is a big dreamer, and a lot of people will try and talk you down off, you know, these high hopes. And so if you want to get around a community of people who are encouraging and calling out the gold in you, and just saying like, you got this, like that's really what this Facebook group, this community is all about.
You know, I think the way I'd like to wrap this podcast up is just, you guys talk a lot about, you know, feeling this message in your heart, this belief, this faith in your heart. And I think people feel that authenticity. I think they feel that you really care about their success, and that's what drives you. And I think a lot of people get lost, like you're saying, Chelsea, in all these different aspects of business. And when you simplify it and kind of come back to the authenticity of just what's the message in your heart and can you help some people, and then going out and doing that, like, is that the key, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in day 1 of the challenge, I'll spoil it for you guys just a little bit. We hype it up. Hey, the number one secret to be successful in this business. And people think, oh, it's some software, some hack, or some cheat code I put in on Amazon. But really it is the heart. It's taking this not just from your head, but taking it to your heart. And that's what gets people through, because, you know this, Leo, like entrepreneurship isn't, you know, just, it's not like the trend up all the time, right? Like there's ups and downs, there's walls, there's mountains you got to conquer. And so it's so key that you lean into your heart a little bit and figure out, why am I really driven to do this? Like, what is that ultimate mission? Like, is it, you know, like we have a mom who joined, like, you know, she served in Afghanistan, and she had her first baby and then was deployed to Afghanistan. And she missed like a lot of these first moments. She missed like the first step. She missed the first birthday. And for her, that's her why. That's why she poured into this challenge. That's why she's building a business, is like, my second child, like she has a second daughter now. She's like, I get to be home now because I built this thing that pays me, so I don't have to go do this thing that is going to take me away. So having that deep why, like when she has some Amazon glitch that comes up, right? A lot of people quit when walls come up. But because she has this deep-seated why in her heart, she's like, I can do this. I'm going to push through. It's for my daughter, you know? And that, I think everyone needs to chew on that a little bit and think about, what is this deep why? And we actually take you through a process in the first day of the challenge to really help you think through that, because it's so key. Like if you're gonna succeed in any entrepreneurial venture, you wanna connect it to your heart and have a bigger vision that is beyond you.
Well said, guys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure spending time with Stephen and Chelsea today. Once again, that website, you guys, is the rainmakerchallenge.com. Make sure you go there and check it out if you have interest, if you want to see if e-commerce and Amazon are the right fit. And as we go into 2021, there's no doubt that's a business that for the next several years is going to continue to trend up. And so those are the types of opportunities you're going to want to look to. And guys, thanks so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Are you looking for more seven-figure secrets, content, or even how you can launch your own recession-proof business? Then check out sevenfigures.com. That's the digit 7, FIGURES.com, where we share more videos, stories, strategies, funding solutions, entrepreneurial education, and even the secret business type that's recession-proof. Thank you for listening, and if you're finding value in our podcast, please give us a 5-star and invite others to join the club.